Okay, so today we have this Squier Paranormal Custom Nashville Telecaster. And this is actually the first Squier I've spent any significant amount of time with. When I first started out playing, I started out with Yamahas, eventually moved into Ibanez's. It took me a while to get to Fender. And so I just kind of skipped the entry-level Fenders, the Squiers, and went straight into either the American-made instruments or the Mexico-made instruments. So when a friend of mine bought this guitar recently, I asked to borrow it for a little while and get to know it and really just kind of get a feel for how good are Squier guitars. So like I said, this is the Paranormal Nashville Telecaster. And so there's a couple things in that. The Paranormal series from Fender, if you're not aware, is where they kind of mix together features of the different models. So this is kind of a mix of a Stratocaster and a Telecaster. And specifically, it's a mix with a Nashville Telecaster, which in and of itself is kind of a paranormal, so to speak. So the Nashville Teles, if you're not aware, a typical Tele has two pickups. It has a neck, it has a bridge. In Nashville, what they started doing was putting a Stratocaster pickup in the middle so they can get some of those in-between Strat tones on their Telecaster, make the guitar kind of more flexible and adaptable when they're in the studio or whatever. So that's what this is. And then for the Paranormal, what they've done is they've changed the shape a little bit to make it a little more Strat shaped, and they added the Strat kind of headstock. So this guitar is made out of poplar. I'd say this one's probably upper 7 pounds. It is double binded, which looks really nice. The downside of that is there's no contouring for your belly or your forearm. So like a typical Telecaster, it's got some sharp edges that could be uncomfortable. The neck is maple. The carve is kind of a relatively thin C shape. So I think it's a good kind of thickness for a beginner player. The fretboard is laurel, so I think it looks nice. It's a nice lighter brown, but I think it looks good. Overall, this guitar has a lot of features that I would say are kind of vintage spec'd. You've got the bridge with the Tele ashtray and the typical vintage style saddles. They're not made of brass, but they're that style. You've got frets that are the narrow, tall frets, and there's only 21 of them. You've got the vintage style tuners here where you stick the string in the top and then wind it around. You know, they are non-locking. So overall, you know, it has a very vintage kind of feel to it. And I think that follows through on the pickups. If you look at the kind of the output of the different pickups, both the bridge and the neck are around 7.3K. I'll put up all of the readings here. And then the middle pickup is 6.1-ish, somewhere around there. So kind of low output pickups, so your typical kind of Fender vintage kind of tones out of this, and we'll hear that in a second. In terms of quality, I would say the fretwork is pretty good. There's no rough edges to the frets. It's very smooth. There's not any dead spots along the neck, so the frets might not be 100% perfectly level, but they're pretty good. The nut is okay. The low E and the B and the high E could be a good amount lower, but it's not horrible. It's not the worst cut of a guitar nut that I've seen. I did have an issue where when I went to change the strings, one of the ferrules on the back fell out. So it's not a big deal. Once you have strings in there, it kind of holds it in place, but that was kind of disconcerting to have one of those fall out. I had to make sure I didn't lose it. And then probably the biggest issue with this guitar in terms of quality is, and I'll do a close-up of this so you can see it, but on the low E string, the string starts to ride closer and closer to the edge of the fretboard as you go further up the neck. So I don't know if this is an issue with the bridge or if this is an issue with the neck isn't perfectly straight, but when you get up here, you could have an issue of the string sliding off the fretboard. Now, I will say better the low E than the high E, because you don't typically play these notes on the low E very often. Okay, so for this demo, we're going to use my Neural DSP Quad Cortex. I've got a preset here that I use really for testing all the guitars I do on the channel. So it has a good wide range of tones from pure cleans through some crunchy tones through kind of some Satriani, Eric Johnson kind of leads. So let's start off with a clean tone and we'll run through all of the pickup configurations. So here's the neck pickup. Here's the neck with the middle. So you're getting a taste of that kind of in-between Stratocaster quack there. And I think the reason it's not more pronounced is because you are mixing a Strat pickup with a Tele pickup. So the Tele pickup's a little warmer, has a little more mid-range to it. So it's going to keep that quack from being too pronounced, but it's still there. Let's go to the middle on its own. And with the bridge. And here's the bridge on its own. So with the bridge pickup, it's sounding like a Tele bridge pickup, so it's nice, but it's not super spiky. So it's the warmth there, I think, is working for you. If we add in the neck pickup via the push-pull knob, again, here's the bridge on its own, and here's the bridge with the neck. You can hear the neck is really kind of taming the top end there. If we add in the middle pickup, now this is all three together. We take out the neck. Neck back in. So there's a lot of flexibility in your pickup configurations here. But let's move on to some gain sounds. Here's a gainier tone. I'm back on the neck pickup. And here's the in-between position. And the middle on its own. And the in-between with the bridge. And here's the bridge. So again, it's keeping that kind of Telecaster character there. But let's go to a higher gain tone, and we'll start out on the bridge position. Let's add in the neck to that. Let's go to the in-between with the middle. Here's the middle on its own. And here's the neck on its own. So overall, I think I'm pretty impressed. You know, this guitar is definitely a good choice for anyone who's kind of starting out and wants, you know, stay in that kind of Fender realm, but wants a pretty flexible guitar. I think there's a lot of pickup combinations here. You know, I might wish the pickups had a little more clarity to them, but at this price point, I don't want to be too picky. The fretwork is well done. The neck is comfortable. You know, you could take it to attack and get the nut lowered a little bit. The alignment of that low E string does bother me a little bit, but it's not a deal breaker in my mind. It's still playable, and I think it still works pretty comfortably. Overall, I don't think it's a bad choice. I think, again, I think if you're looking for an entry-level guitar that has a lot of versatility to it, I think this might be something that would appeal to you. If you're kind of wanting that Fender thing and you like how this looks, I think this is something to check out. To me, if you start considering some of the made in Mexico guitars, I would also encourage you to check out some of the PRS SE lines and things like that. But if you're staying kind of in this price range, I don't think you could get into a PRS SE for what this costs. I think this is a pretty good choice. So I hope you found this helpful, and thanks for watching.